All right, so I've only been given 10 minutes. I'm going to try to do it real fast. Samson. Samson is a huge figure in the Bible, and I don't think I know anybody who does not know Samson and what happened. But the question I want to address today is, do we have any hints of Samson's existence in archaeology? And the answer is yes, and it actually gets quite interesting. So here is a seal. This ancient seal was found in a very interesting location. It's about 1.5 centimeters big. So if you think about this, like half an inch size, it's pretty small, but it's important and a very important find. If you look at the seal, you see a man on the right side, a depiction of the man. On the left side, you see a depiction of an animal. Now, archaeologists looked at this and they said, well, it's depicting the story of Samson fighting a lion. Is this a stretch? It might seem so, because it could depict a man, I don't know, and a sheep or any other man to that matter. But the reason why they came to this conclusion that this is a story about Samson is because of where they found it and the time it dates to. So where was this found? It was actually found in Beit Shemesh. Beit Shemesh is not too far from Tel Batash, which is believed to be the biblical Timnah. You can see west-north is Timnah. This is where Samson's wife lived. So if you look at Judges 14:5, it says, Samson was on his way to this engagement party when a young lion roared against him. So this seal was found not too far, only about 4 or 5 miles from that site. And then when does it date to? Well, this seal dates to 11th century BC. Yeah, that's Samson's time. So that's quite exciting. So now it's like, could this be coincidence that the seal found in the same area where Samson lived, dating to about the same time period? Could it be that whoever held that seal commemorated the events of Samson and what he's done? We know his events commemorate in the Bible, so why not also make a seal? So this is a really interesting find. But there's more. What about the temple? So let's look at Samson's end of life, destroying the temple. And there's a couple things I want to address. One, so at the end of his life, Samson pushes his hand, both hands against 2 pillars. He's without eyes. He has been held captive, and he pushes against these 2 pillars. The 2 pillars collapse, and they make the whole roof go down, and the whole temple collapses, and about a huge amount of people die. And the Bible says that on the roof there were 3,000 people. Now, this kind of brings us to 2 questions. Number one, can there be a temple from that time big enough to hold 3,000 people? And number 2, could Samson even do this? Let's look at this. So, number 1, 3,000 people. It's interesting enough that there are ancient temples that could hold that many people, especially if you think of a party and an engagement where people are just stuffed. Like if you look at pictures, even today from certain places in the world, even Israel today, when you have a wedding, like at our wedding, my wife and Rhoda wedding, we had 800 people shoulder to shoulder. You could place them in a very small space, and you'd be surprised how many people can fit into a small space. So if it's a big party, something important, people came to see Samson, it's possible they would have 3,000 people in ancient temples, and you can look them up. There's a few of them. One of them, for example, Tel Arad, I can see 1,000 or more people stuffed in there easily, and there's possibly a few more locations excavated. But there's 2 temples that have been found that are very, very interesting. So they're found in the region of Tel Aviv, and this is an interesting commentary from Brian G. Wood of the Associates for Biblical Research, where he writes this. There are 2 Philistine temples that have been uncovered by archaeologists. One at Tel Kasil in northern Tel Aviv, and another one in Tel Mikne, which is ancient Ekron, 21 miles south of Tel Aviv. Now, both of these temples share a unique design. The roof was supported by 2 central pillars. The pillars were made of wood and rested on stone support bases. With the pillars being about 6 feet apart, a strong man could dislodge them for their stone bases and bring the entire roof crashing down. This is really cool. So the archaeological finds match the biblical story perfectly and attest to the plausibility of the account. Now this is Brian G. Wood. That's quite remarkable, because now we're seeing that there were structures dating to Samson's time where the pillars weren't just made all out of stone. The base is out of stone, and then you've got wood pillars supporting the roof. And now here's another interesting site. It's Northern Galilee now. It's a different time frame. This is time of Jesus. We're looking at Susita. This is another picture, by the way, of the Tel Kasil site, the temple where you can see those two pillars. And here's Ekron, again, a larger temple, again, pillars, stone foundation, and then would be wood holding up a roof that people could be on. But here's another site I want to talk to you about. This is Susita. This is located at the northern Israel. This is Sea of Galilee. And why this is interesting, even though the site dates to the 1st century, we can look at this and imagine what happened in the story of Samson. Take a look at this. Pillars, all lie in the same direction. What do you think happened here? Earthquake. That's right. If you said earthquake, you were right. This site literally was in existence up to a certain point to 8th century AD. And in the 749 AD, if I'm not mistaken, there was a big earthquake in Israel. Those pillars fell down and all of the structures collapsed. That city was never inhabited since then. That just gives you the amount of devastation that this kind of foundation can bring when the building shakes. If you remove those pillars, the whole thing comes crashing down, which is not true today. Today, the construction is slightly different with rebars and reinforcements and all this, but back in the old days, even if you look at those pillars, you will notice that they are not kind of glued in. There's might be some cement between them, but we haven't seen much of that. So it's very highly possible that those pillars could be moved by somebody real strong like Samson with power that's given to him by God to bring the whole building down. Now, this kind of brings me to just the end bit of this, and this is some of just important questions in my life that I had to ask. What is, or yet better yet, who is the pillar in our life? If it's our wealth, that can vanish overnight. It can flee. What will happen then to me? Well, am I going to be destroyed if that's my foundation, if that's my pillar? If it's my friends or my spouse, if my spouse is my pillar, what if the spouse passes away? What will I be left with? Will I be destroyed then? My whole existence, my whole life? However, if our pillar is this word and our pillar is the Lord, then we can never be destroyed. Our joy will always be full in hope that endures all tribulations. I want to close it with this verse, but before I do, I want to highly recommend to watch a full study on Samson. So, delivered by Charlie Garrett. Click on this link right here. There's going to come up a thumbnail with the sermon. Click on that. Highly recommend it. Charlie goes through Hebrew and just amazing passage. There are hidden messages in the Hebrew language in this whole story and the events of Samson's life. And it will blow you away how it all points to the Messiah. Yes, hidden message of the Messiah in the story of Samson. Incredible. So tap on the thumbnail right here to watch it, or click on the link in the description of this video to see it.